Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to Out of the Park Baseball. This is episode number 23. After our promotion, I mentioned the nerves about how would we fare in the second tier, and where some of it looked like we might be okay, some of it looked like maybe not so much. Maybe we would find the step up to be rather difficult. And after a 6-4 start, it was like okay, we should be fine. But that was 10 games played, and we had 6 wins. Now we've played 20 more games, and we had just 6 wins. Overall, we've dropped to 12-18. So we are struggling quite a bit now. The attendance records are also falling off, so the revenue is going to fall off a little bit. All of it a little bit worrying. Let's see how the individuals are performing, and with a 30-game sample size, it may be far enough along to make a move or two try to happen to help kickstart things a little bit, get the team playing a little bit better. First, looking at the bullpen, Francisco Perez is struggling mightily at 7.5 ERA and probably needs to get bumped out of his role. Let's go ahead and just put him as a middle reliever. That frees up that sixth inning a little bit. But outside of him, the bullpen's doing fantastic. He's the only one who's had a hard time. That step's fine, but looking at the starters, you can definitely see the step up in level. I was saying that it would be a run or two per guy higher at this level, and sure enough, it is. Nobody's doing awful though. Ramsey David, 4.5 ERA, 3-2 overall. I mean, he's doing okay, but Bukowskis, just 1-7 combined. 5.4 ERA, 5.88 ERA. Not terrible compared to everybody else, but they do have that smaller sample size as they are set to start the next 2 games. Let's go ahead and push forward 2 days and see what happens with those 2 games. And if they improve or stay the same or get worse. Funny thing, where we went 1-1 in there, Brickhouse, it was his game that we lost, but his ERA improved a little bit, where Bukowskis got out early, his ERA got worse, and that was the game we won. But it was the bullpen who got the job done on that one. In fact, speaking of bullpen, Francisco Perez, already his ERA coming down as he added to his innings total without giving anything up. So the Brickhouse-Bukowskis issue, very much an issue. I mean, 1-8 combined between the two of them is not helping us at all right now. I would very much love to see us be able to get one improved player. I don't mind having your fifth man being fairly weak and young and trying to develop. I do mind when you have only 3 go-to pitchers and then you really fall off for numbers 4 and 5. And it's showing. It's definitely showing right now that they are not hanging in there. But at the moment anyway, we have not found anybody. Okay, so McCormick is doing well. He's got 7 homers, 20 RBIs, hitting .333 with good wins above replacement. Winker, not doing great, but he's doing okay. Abraham Toro is struggling at third base though. So there's one big key. Toro has not done well so far. Hudson hitting over 300. He's playing well. LeBoy, not having the greatest of seasons so far, but he does have 20 RBI already. 15 runs scored. I mean, those 3 are combining along with McCormick for the bulk of our offense right now. Rivera, struggling mightily. 0.2 on the wins above replacement at least is neutral, meaning he's helping us out defensively, but offensively, he is not doing well at the moment. Yurchak, great player that we picked up with Yurchak, hitting .291. He's really offering us something, good backup to that group of players ahead of him. Kyle Holder, currently doing quite a bit better than Jose Rivera. However, we're talking about small sample size, just 28 at-bats. But he has been better than Rivera, so maybe we need to go back to Holder over Rivera as a short-term solution to see what that does for us. Slugging is a bit higher for Rivera, and on base does close that gap quite a bit as Rivera is getting quite a few walks. He's had 8 walks and 80 at-bats. Ibarra, hitting 464. I believe that I saw at least a few days ago that 464 was enough to be first in the league. So highest average in the entire league right now. 52 hits already on the season in just over 100 at bats. Fantastic. And he only has 15 RBI. He's a leadoff guy for us, but he's got 22 runs scored. He is our primary scorer of runs so far this season and has only struck out 9 times, better than anybody else except for Broyles. But Broyles has only had 26 at bats and has 7 strikeouts already. So Toro is the one who is not doing too well, along with Rivera. Swap that out a little bit, we may be in better shape. Manny Perez, who was that defensive upgrade, hasn't done so well offensively so far. Meanwhile, down in the minors, AAA team 25-15 so far, AA 17-24, Single A 27-17. So fairly good performance, especially now that we're in a higher level. So I found an upgrade for the pitching staff, Jesus Luzardo for Kyle McRae. Kyle McRae is a AAA player who's got some potential that's not quite reached yet, but I've got some depth in the outfield. He's a right fielder. You know, we can do without McRae. McRae is okay, but Jesus Luzardo gets us a 4th starter right now. We're losing Hansen for near 2 months, so that's going to leave a vacancy to fill. I might have my hands full, but it could be a good opportunity for a AAA player. So the primary adjustment I've made to the lineup is I've brought up Peter Hansen, giving us another third base option because Toro has struggled. So Hansen has done okay at AAA, but he's not great. 2-star guy with some potential. I just don't see how he's going to help us a ton. But what has happened with the injury of Hudson is that Yurchak is now going to be an everyday guy. And as a result, Willie LeBoy, who was primarily DH, is going to play second base. So away from the DH role into second base. And LeBoy is actually a fairly good defender. It's just that we also had Hudson, and they were both good. And what it's allowed me to do is now Winker is the DH, so we've gotten his bad defense out of the field and into the lineup as DH. McCormick is moving up to the number 2 slot, and Yurchak taking over that 6th spot. I think that's a pretty healthy upgrade for us, both defensively, getting Winker out of the lineup, and getting Yurchak into that defensive part of the lineup. And offensively, it doesn't hurt much. I mean, Hudson's a pretty solid player. Yurchak's done really well too, though. One start since the trade. Jesus Luzardo is going to be out for upwards of a year. Now, what we gave up for him was a minor leaguer, so for that part, we're okay. Bukowskis comes back in. But that hurts. That hurts, especially when we're struggling. Well, with the promotion, we've been doubly penalized. We are into that higher level, so we are now compared against the second-tier teams. But also, we had a great record last year. We had the best record in the lowest tier. So now we find ourselves much, much lower in the draft than we have been before. 68th is where we will be picking in this one. Somehow after the Pirates. And after a few compensation picks. San Antonio, Manchester, getting a couple of those. Let's go ahead and start the draft. By the time we get down to pick number 68, that's enough players that have been selected that all of the players with the ready to contribute, they're gone. They're gone. The best players available right now are 2-star players, all college level guys. So what we're looking at is potential. And potential, there definitely is still some really solid options. A lot of those relievers, though. So now we're looking at a catcher and a starting pitcher that have fantastic potential. For the catcher, his thing is he's a line drive hitter, ton of gap power, good discipline, would be a good hitter, but he's not fantastic. Would be a good catcher, not fantastic. Not quite sure we get a 5-star rating out of that. But for Rod Fernandez, we're looking at a guy with high stamina, great ability to hold runners, decent enough fielder for his position. He's going to have an excellent fastball, a good changeup, a fairly good forkball, something you don't see that much of these days, with overall good stuff and control of it and enough movement to get guys out. He is a fly ball pitcher without a ton of velocity, but right now he's young, and that could absolutely develop, that could absolutely change. And this is where you've got to go when you have the option of a 5-star pitcher. You've got to go for it. And with a demand of $4 million, the recommended slot is right below that anyway. So we're talking about the same sort of money. I think we absolutely have to go for his demand and hope that we've got our man. I think we will. Somehow Jordan Brown is still here by the second round, maybe because he's supposedly impossible. I'm going to take our chances and see if we can get him signed. A couple really good relievers left, but there's a really good starter left, and he's durable, so let's go ahead and go for that starter here in the third round. I did pick up quite a few middle infielders, shortstops that were a bit better than other guys, either defensively or offensively, whichever the case may be. But generally, shortstops that aren't good enough to make it in the major leagues as a shortstop then end up eventually moving to another position, settling in as second baseman or third baseman, and living out their life from there. So in the future, I'll start to make those kind of changes down in the minor leagues and see if you can't get better potential out of some guys, which very much could be the case. Outside of those first 5 picks, I did have to go in to a couple shortstops, and give them their demands, which were very reasonable. We're well below the kind of money we had set aside to get guys signed. So I think we'll be just fine. Mostly all high school kind of guys with potential, lots of potential in the group that we brought in. That's good for the sake of our minor league system, having plenty of potential and not necessarily ready here and now kind of guys, as we were lacking in that department a little bit. At the same time, it does give me plenty of trade bait to see what we can do. At the moment, we are 18-24. It's good enough to be above the relegation zone, but not by much. We are only 2 games clear. We are 4th from bottom right now in the Loyalty League. So you've got actually the entire that's the entire division, the East Division. 19-23 is the best team. 18-24 are 2 teams matching ours. So we're actually not quite 4th from bottom, are we? Meanwhile, we are last place in a tough division. Both promotion spots from our division. The next best record is 3 teams tied by one of them in our division, and 1 game behind that, and surprisingly, considering how strong their roster is, Miami, 24-18. We are 5-5 in our last 10. It's been a little bit better. And you can see right now, offensively, very much not number 1. Our average is 3rd best, but runs only 12th. Not doing so hot. This is out of the whole league. Home runs is down at 21st. And defensive efficiency, last. But pitching is okay. It's hanging in there. It's 18th. We're middle of the road. And I think our record is a little worse than our performance has been. In terms of runs, we're only a little bit behind neutral. Therefore, I think we've got some more wins in us than we've gotten so far. Let's hope, though, I've been unlucky with a couple injuries. Let's hope some other teams face bigger issues or similar issues to what I've had, so that can help give us a little bit of a boost. But the teams that are at the bottom for relegation, Detroit, not looking too bad. Pitching wise, though, 31st. They're just 16th in runs. They've got a little bit okay offense. Salt Lake City, bottom of the barrel in both offense and defense. So look for them to be an automatic kind of relegation team if we're this far into the season and they're looking that bad. But Detroit, not that bad. What about Overland Park? They seem to be a team that's worse than us. And you would think that we should move up a little bit in time. But there's not too many bad teams out there, except for that whole Loyalty East thing where those guys are all bad. Yeah. All 5 of them are pretty bad. I think they're benefiting from playing each other a little bit more often. Meanwhile, for us, we are being punished by playing possibly, the 4 best teams or 4 of the best teams in the conference, where these guys are benefiting from playing the worst teams. So let's hope we don't suffer as a result, because we seem to be a better team than we are looking like in the standings right now. That's going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.